There's a tragic tale of loss at this railroad crossing in Granger County, Tennessee, where a terrible train wreck occurred in 1889. That loss, combined with the optimism, dreams, and visions for a mighty city to be built at a historic mountain gap, is another one of the stories of Appalachia. Knoxville, Tennessee is one of the largest cities in Tennessee today, boasting industry, business, a university, and 2 law schools. After the Civil War, Knoxville stood at a crossroads, ready to build the city it is today, but needing the infrastructure to do so. New rail lines were that infrastructure, linking the city with the rest of the country. One of these new lines was the Powell's Valley Railway. The Powell's Valley Railway, chartered in 1876 and later known as the Powell's Valley Railroad, embarked on a monumental mission to link Knoxville, Cumberland Gap, and Middlesborough by train. That railroad was set to connect Knoxville with what many thought was going to be a grand new Appalachian city in southeastern Kentucky, Middlesborough, on the other side of the Cumberland Gap. While today the Cumberland Gap Tunnel allows a modern 4-lane highway easy access to Kentucky from Tennessee for drivers, in the 19th century the trip involved taking a wagon on a road up and over the mountain at the gap itself. The Powell's Valley Railroad, by now renamed the Knoxville, Cumberland Gap, and Louisville Railroad, decided to dig its own tunnel through the mountain, allowing rail access to Middlesborough and beyond. The tunnel was completed in 1889 after getting permission from all 3 states, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia, that come together at Cumberland Gap. The tunnel allowed for the first time railroad service through this historic part of Appalachia. It wasn't, however, without problems. 5 years after its completion, the tunnel collapsed under the weight of the mountain above. It was repaired, but collapsed again in 1896, after which it was again repaired and reinforced by the Louisville and Nashville Railroad, which had taken over the Knoxville, Cumberland Gap, and Louisville when that company encountered financial difficulties. The completion of the railroad to Middlesborough in 1889 was a cause for celebration in both the bustling new town and the city of Knoxville. The inaugural train was filled with dignitaries from both places, eager to see and be seen in the spotlight of newspaper coverage. Among those on board the train were Alexander Arthur, the Scots immigrant whose vision had created not only Middlesborough, but other towns over the state line in Tennessee. He had dreams of grandeur for his Birmingham of Appalachia, a steel town close to coal fields and iron ore deposits. The train left the station in Knoxville on the morning of August 22, 1889, with arrival expected around noon at the Middlesborough station, just in time for lunch. The passengers never arrived. As the train passed over Flat Creek in Granger County, about 20 miles out of Knoxville, something disastrous happened. The passengers in the rear coach car later recalled feeling a jarring sensation, then a bumping as the car came off the rails and began to ride directly on the ties. Before they could react, the car struck the trestle itself and then came completely off the track, falling into the creek, bottom up, leaving the rest of the train able to come to a stop after it made the crossing. Alexander Arthur was injured, suffering a severe back injury. Many others in that car also suffered serious injuries, such as broken bones and internal injuries. One man, H.B. Wetzel, was paralyzed. Worse, though, was the loss of life. Among those who perished were Colonel Isham Young, Alderman F. Hawkinjose, also of Knoxville, S.T. Powers, Alexander Reeder, and Judge George Andrews. The cause of the accident was never definitively determined, but many thought that the culprit was a rock that had somehow made its way onto one of the rails. Afterwards, Mayor Condon of Knoxville appointed 2 men to investigate the condition of the railroad to ensure the safety of future rail travelers. Meanwhile, the dreams continued, along with more tragedy. In 1890, a devastating fire destroyed Middlesborough. That, though, didn't stop the town, which was quickly rebuilt. Meanwhile, other towns sprang up to service Middlesborough, including Harrogate, Tennessee, just south of Cumberland Gap. In 1891, the Four Seasons Hotel was built there to house visitors to the region. In order to get from that grand hotel to Middlesborough, a spur line was built between the towns, making it necessary to dig a tunnel through a ridge. This tunnel, named the Little Tunnel to distinguish it from the larger tunnel through Cumberland Gap, is now part of a multi-use path connecting Cumberland Gap and Harrogate along the old rail spur, with the tunnel now going under Route 58. The part you see with corrugated steel walls was added when 58 was expanded to 4 lanes from 2 lanes of traffic. The original tunnel was here, where bricks lined the tunnel. In 1896, the Louisville and Nashville Railroad took possession of the Knoxville, Cumberland Gap, and Louisville Railway and improved the Cumberland Gap Tunnel while connecting it to its existing track. After several ownership changes, the Louisville and Nashville Railroad became a part of CSX Transportation, with this route acquired by Norfolk Southern. In 2022, R.J. Corman announced that its Knoxville and Cumberland Gap Railroad would buy and operate this historic route. Join us as we share the fascinating stories of Appalachia, this place we call home. Be sure to like, leave a comment, and subscribe for more stories of Appalachia. Thanks for watching.